So I played AI Limit, and I think this is looking like another damn good action game to watch out for. It's one I had my eye on for a little while, and now that I've had the chance to play through the demo a few times, I can confidently say that it is no longer a conspiracy. American-made games just do not stack up against games coming from the East. Even from our most well-known Western AAA studios, they're getting bodied by these studios that no one's ever really heard of, which is crazy to me because if this was 15, 20 years ago, games like Halo, Gears of War, BioShock, Mass Effect, man, we were killing it in the gaming industry. But now, when I think about a new Mass Effect from BioWare, I'm thinking EA needs to take old Yeller out back. Same with Obsidian. I don't think they have the balls to make a new Vegas 2, at least not without making it feel like it was spat out by ChatGPT. My point is, the stuff coming from not us are about the only games I get excited for nowadays. And that was exactly my thought after playing the demo for AI Limit, the new Souls-like coming out in a little over a month. I mean, I just got done playing the first Berserker demo, and that one looks really damn good too. Then there's games like Phantom Blade Zero, Lost Soul Aside, Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers, and Tides of Annihilation. They all have me picking my jaw up from the floor, and AI Limit is no different. If you haven't yet, download this demo and wishlist it because it's seriously worth keeping an eye on. Man, I'm gonna be jealous of so many people that get to play these games this year because, well, I don't like seeing email alerts from my bank. So expect more videos about demos from me, I guess. Anyways, I had a really great time playing what we got so far, and if you're a fan of action games or Souls-likes, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. I've heard a few people comparing it to games like Code Vein because of its art style, but after playing the demo for around 5 hours now, I think it has more similarities with Lies of P than anything else. You have your 3 starting weapon classes at the beginning, you have your interchangeable spells and weapon arts, and a big emphasis on parry combat and staggering your enemies. But what makes AI Limit stand out from other Souls-like games is that there's no stamina management whatsoever. Seriously, you can sprint around all you want, dodge all you want, swing your weapons around all you want. There's no weight management, no fat rolling or any of that. I mean, you have your Estus flasks and your bonfires, and no, they're not called that in-game. That's just what I call them out of habit in every single Souls game because I couldn't be bothered to learn the game's lore behind these obvious mechanics. It's like asking people to call Twitter X. Runes? Those are Souls. Crimson whatevers, those are Estus flasks. But listen, just because AI Limit cuts out a lot of the elements from the genre doesn't make it just another generic hack and slash RPG game. And it doesn't mean it's easier. So no, you don't have to do things like corpse running when you die because you don't lose all your souls, you just lose a small percentage of your experience instead. It's still a hardcore Souls-like, it's just more forgiving. Which for me, I like this. I've been doing corpse running since the Bed of Chaos in Dark Souls 1. I understand that it's a teaching tool, but at this point, I already know how these games work, so I'm cool if this just remains a From Software quirk. But just because you can pretty much go crazy without having to worry about getting all tuckered out, doesn't mean there's no strategy behind the combat in AI Limit. Instead of the traditional stamina bar, you now have a gauge called sync rate, which has these thresholds, 50%, 75%, 80, 90, so on and so on. When you use your weapon arts or your spells, for example, your sync rate goes down. And when you start to fall below a certain limit, you're more vulnerable, so enemy attacks do more damage to you. But if you keep your sync rate up, you deal more damage and become tankier. You do this by just spamming your light attacks. It encourages you to play more aggressively, and because of this, it makes the combat feel way more fast-paced. And I don't know if this is just a me thing, but in the typical Souls-like game, I find myself playing the waiting game, sometimes trying to bait the boss's attack. The way I play these games is almost like a strategy RPG. What really surprised me more than anything, though, was the level design. Man, In every early impression video I watched of this game, no one was really talking about it. Man, this gave me nostalgia with how Metroidvania-like it was. You know, I was backtracking and looping around to unlock doors. I was finding ladders. I was making sketchy rolls off of ledges to get to platforms below. At one point, I was breaking crates and I found this hidden hole that I could jump down from to a platform below. And best of all, there was this giant robot shooting laser beams down this hallway. And if you get caught by these lasers, you're basically dead. So I had to duck off down this side path, kind of like the Drake from Dark Souls 1. And as I progressed through the level, I eventually ended up right in front of this giant, where he started doing these slam attacks with his fists. I initially thought he was invincible and I just was supposed to run away from him, but I decided to attack one of his arms and I just kept on wailing at him until he fell down this bottomless pit, right? But that whole time he was guarding this little secret area where you could slide down a ladder and open up another locked door. Seriously, interconnected level design is the best. But yeah, I went there and you could fight another mini boss that's guarding a unique healing spell. I love this. Now, I'm not saying that I had one of those Firelink Shrine moments, but when the game releases, and if it can keep up this same quality level design throughout, I can see this becoming one of my favorites in the genre. And I get it. Most people are going to say that these games live and die by their combat, but for me, the reason why I fell in love with the genre in the first place is because of the atmosphere and sense of exploration. The combat, it was always second for me, and the fact that this game has crunchy, satisfying combat and really good exploration is definitely worth having on your radar for that price point, because this game is launching at $35. That's half the price of a AAA game. And a lot of gaming journals like to go into the psychology of the price of a game and the perception of its quality. If it's not $70, people are going to think it's of lower quality or some shit. You know, I think that's kind of dumb because when I see $70, I think of a game that I can't buy. Because the only games that I would spend $70 on are From Software and Capcom. You know, IPs that we're already familiar with. Games we already know we're gonna enjoy. So all that price to quality crap that people like to talk about, it's just propaganda because the gaming industry wants you to believe that a video game should cost $100. You have no idea how many games I've paid under $20 for and I've gotten over 100 hours of enjoyment from. Games like Terraria and Core Keeper off the top of my head. The price of a game has nothing to do with its quality, and the reason why I want to emphasize that is because I think there's a lot of people that would see that $35 and think that the game doesn't have enough content or replayability, but for me, I don't feel like this is going to be the case. It's insane how much there is to do in this demo alone. And what I really liked is after you beat the demo, you unlock a boss challenge mode, letting you try out various builds against a mid-game boss, and I love this. I really hope the full game allows me to go back and practice boss fights, you know, like a boss rush mode or something. And let's actually talk about these boss fights. There's only 2 of them, as well as a few mini bosses here and there during this demo, but they were extremely well designed. That boss fight against Lore, I had to have died like 25 times before I finally beat him. He had a bunch of different attack patterns. They were well telegraphed with lunges, leaps, and combo chains. He even had a second phase that we're all familiar with, where he gets turbocharged and it's a completely different boss fight, which is really what killed me the most, because as soon as I learned the first phase, I have to do the next phase, which is basically like doing another boss fight at 2 times speed. He just kept on killing me with those damn lunges followed by this spin attack. And it just made me frustrated as hell, but the combat feels so satisfying that it made me want to retry it over and over again. And really, that's what I look for in these type of games and how I gauge that challenging but fair aspect. How much am I willing to try over and over again? It really helps that the checkpoints are right there, so you're back in the fight within less than a few seconds. The reason I died so many times is because I disregarded the parry mechanics. I tried to fight him completely on dodging and looking for openings. But when I went through the demo a second time trying to nail down the timing for the parries, I found out that the game really wants you to parry, because they're so damn OP. When you parry an attack, you completely stagger that enemy, triggering a death blow that takes out a huge chunk of their health. When I went back and fought Lore a second time with this knowledge, he became a complete pushover. My only gripe with the parry system is that I kind of wish it was tighter, you know? Because sometimes they were so easy to pull off that I felt like I could just spam them to win the fight. I really hope they tighten this up in the full release, because I hate self-imposing rules. I know I'm gonna use a loophole to cheese every boss if I have the option to. That mid-level boss though in the challenge mode completely kicked my ass though, so maybe they just widened the parry window for Lore to get players used to it. Overall though, I really enjoy this game. You know, the thing about Souls-likes for me is that they're really easy to get exhausted with, and there's so many of them now that the only ones I really pick up are the ones that are really unique, that stand out from the rest. Games like Lies of P and Another Crab's Treasure, where they don't adhere religiously to the Souls-like formula, and that's what made them so great. AI Limit seems to be the same because it follows a similar foundation, but it mixes in a lot of its own identity. It doesn't go for that generic gameplay that we're all used to with hyper-realistic graphics, where there's reflections everywhere and you can see all the little details in the character models and all the little textures like a lot of other AAA games go for. You know how AAA studios are making sure you can see all the lines in the wood, as they say. The graphics, they're pretty basic, but it makes up for that in clever level design and outstanding art style, highly refined gameplay, and action-packed combat. I like seeing these games that cut out the bullshit. They just throw you in the game, they drop you in there, and you're straight into the gameplay. That's what games used to be like. You know, 90% gameplay, 10% story. No fluff, no padding, straight to the point. That's why these games that are coming from the East, and they're just doing huge launch numbers, bigger than the studios that we grew up with. You know, I tried playing Avowed on Game Pass, and it took me like 30 minutes of exposition and walking around listening to annoying NPCs before I even got to swing my weapon at an enemy. It's just exhausting, and I think a lot of people can agree with me. I don't give a shit about the story, at least not initially. I care about the gameplay over everything, and if I like the gameplay, then I'm more likely to be invested in the story and the world building. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on AI Limit. I was thinking about how I made that video on upcoming hack and slash games, and my title kind of gave people the wrong impression. I got so many comments telling me that I needed to get good, it's a skill issue. Souls-likes can coexist with hack and slash games, character action games, and that's not what I was trying to say. I still love these games for their exploration, but as far as combat goes, yeah, I prefer character action games because I love learning all the different combos and looking stylish. There is room for both, and I think AI Limit has a good mix of both. It's way more forgiving, and I think it'd be a good jumping on point for people new to the genre, without sacrificing the challenge that these games are known for. But let me know, have you seen the trailers? Have you played the demo? What do you think of this game? Because me, I was just blown away, and I really want to wait and see the reviews, because this could be a day one pickup for me, especially at that price point. But yeah, talk to me in the comments. Alright, bye.